India is back in Washington's crosshairs. A day after mocking Prime Minister Narendra Modi, US President Donald Trump is doubling down on tariffs, although this time he's doing it through the US Congress. That's the American Parliament. US lawmakers are considering a new sanctions bill. If passed, India could face tariffs as high as 500%. And Trump has already given the bill his blessing. But there's a twist. Trump's favorite weapon, tariffs, may be legally hanging by a thread. So let's tell you what is happening, starting with the bill. This bill targets India's oil purchases from Russia. It is called the Sanctioning Russia Act of 2025, and the threat is extraordinary. This bill supercharges Donald Trump's tariff machine. It targets any country that is buying Russian oil, and it proposes tariffs of up to 500%. What's worse, the bill names India explicitly along with China and Brazil. So if this bill becomes law, the US president will get sweeping powers. He will get a free hand to slap tariffs with legal and constitutional protections. And who is driving this bill? Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. You may remember seeing him a few days back. He was standing beside Donald Trump on Air Force One, speaking to the American press and revealing private conversations, including discussions with India's ambassador to the US.
Would allow,
and India also is voting.
Yes, sir. So he put a 25% tariff on India for buying Russian oil. I was at the Indian ambassador's house about a month ago, and all he wanted to talk about is how they're buying less Russian oil. Would you tell the president to relieve the tariff? This stuff works. I really do believe that what he did with India is the chief reason India is now buying substantially less Russian oil. So I hope we pass this bill soon.
This senator revealed private exchanges in public, and that tells you a lot about the Trump administration. They do not respect the sanctity of any relationship, and trust has been the biggest casualty of this approach. As for the new bill, it is classic Donald Trump. It is based on his approach of maximum pressure and sweeping penalties to extract favorable terms. And look at the timing of all of this. Trade negotiations between India and the US have been dragging. So by using this bill, Trump is clearly trying to strengthen his hand. At this point, the only impediment he faces is the American law. A new report is out. It says lawsuits against Trump's tariffs are mounting. So far, more than 1,000 cases have been filed. They challenge the tariffs imposed by the US president. And who is filing these cases? American corporate entities, from retailers to manufacturers to automakers to consumer brands ranging from cosmetics to tires, basically businesses across the board. They have filed lawsuits because they want their money back. Specifically, the extra tariffs that they had to pay because of Trump's policies. Until December last year, the US government had collected around $133 billion. And these lawsuits have been filed ahead of a major Supreme Court verdict. The verdict is expected tomorrow. The US Supreme Court will decide on the legality of Trump's tariffs. The court has to answer a simple question. Are Trump's tariffs legal or not? Because remember, President Trump used his emergency powers to impose these tariffs, and these emergency powers are like a fire alarm. They can be used only in extreme circumstances, like during a war or a serious crisis. But Trump has been using these powers to rewrite economic policy. That is why the matter has reached the Supreme Court. The court must decide whether a president can do this or not. And what happens if the court strikes down the tariffs? Well, then the US government would have to refund tariff collections, and we're talking billions of dollars here. Also, refunds are not automatic. The affected companies must file lawsuits. And that is what these 1,000+ cases represent. They have been filed in advance in anticipation of the US Supreme Court verdict. Although the odds are 50-50, America's top court has a conservative majority. 6 out of the 9 judges are conservatives, and 3 of them were appointed by Trump himself. The president is counting on them to get a favorable verdict. But it's not a done deal, because in the previous hearings, these judges were skeptical about the tariffs. They questioned the legal basis and they challenged the president's approach. So this is a serious test. And it's not just American companies who will be watching. One can safely assume that governments and businesses across the world will be watching this case closely.
The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news? From battlefields to negotiation tables, from internet outrage to real-world injustice. The conversations everyone is having and the ones they're avoiding. It's the same show, but this new year, First Post America gets a new look.